If it's a soft figure, and our oracle, Tom Petrovsky, said earlier, 3.3 is the magic number.
Yeah.
Anything under that, we're on.
He reckons.
At least the conversation is on.
The conversation's on.
Yeah.
And the figure will be that.
And that will be wind in the sails.
But I just find Michelle Bullock pretty conservative.
Yes. Yeah, Ed Boyd said the same thing earlier.
So I reckon more like April, myself.
They'll keep it, so you think they'll keep it, okay, it's tracking the right way, but we need a few more months just to make sure.
We just need some more data, she'll say.
Yeah.
Which is,
And
sweet comfort to all of us mortgage holders, but anyway.
Yeah, and do you think she'll be aware of the fact of how political a rate cut would be right now?
Yes, but, it's frequent. It's been a frequent occurrence in election campaigns for rates to be adjusted. Scott Morrison copped a rate hike in the last campaign.
Yeah.
There was that famous one in 2007 where John Howard got a rate hike or two. So they're never afraid of that because basically they need to cover their own backsides, Pete, in terms of their decision making. I don't see any harm with the February one, to be frank. What's the worst that can happen? Then you just keep it at 4.1, not 4.35. So the government reckons it's about 50-50. The markets think it's 70-30 for a rate cut. Anthony Albanese, he'll be praying at the moment for a rate cut. And I think it could make a difference. You talk about a close election, 1 or 2% of the vote matters.
Yep. Okay. Something else is on my radar this morning I wanted to bring to your attention. So Caroline Levitt, she's the youngest ever press secretary
27.
at the White House. Yeah. Who were you at 27?
Where was I at 27? I was in the Canberra Press Gallery, but I was about to move overseas, yes.
Yeah. I'd just gone overseas as well.
I'm just about to move to London.
So, folks, she's the youngest ever White House press secretary. She did her first full press conference today. She's quite well, I think. She's about 45 minutes. There was no lines that were fluffed. But there was a point at the start, which is how they're going to do things differently this time. And I was going to ask Andrew and Laura about what their thoughts of it as journalists, and both have been to DC to cover American political matters. This is Caroline Levitt talking about how different things are going to be this time around, and in particular, who's going to be there.
The Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media who are seated in this room. Because according to recent polling from Gallup, Americans' trust in mass media has fallen to a record low. Our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room.
All right. So, Andrew, presumably that means podcasters, TikTokers, those with huge...
Joe Rogan in the front row.
You imagine that? He wouldn't need it, but it would be, others. This is new media. What do you make about this?
Well, obviously I'm not a supporter because I've got a bit of self-interest going on. But, I think legacy media have sort of qualified for it. Where does it end sort of thing? Do you just start getting punters in there? By the way, as you know, if you've been there, and Laura has, that room's nowhere near as impressive as it looks on TV.
Well, it's very small and it's crowded. But
we annoyed the American media because they kicked them all down the back in the kitchen when we were there with the Prime Minister and kept us there, and they kept making sarcastic remarks as they were walking past.
But is this something? I don't know new media here, and the popular ones I wouldn't have of the faintest. But would they have to start coming to Anthony Albanese's press conference eventually?
Well, it's really down to the press gallery, right? Like you've got some people for what I'd call some marginal publications like Capital Brief who go on overseas trips with the PM at the moment. So, people in more minor publications do kind of have a mission.
Right.
Crikey, I think, is in the Canberra Press Gallery. So it might already exist here. What we're talking about here are people who are completely unknown. And also the podcasting game, it's just not the same here as in America, to state the very obvious, and it's never going to be because it's economies of scale, right?
That's right, yeah. We just don't have the population or the listener base, but, it's a factor. Laura, good morning to you. It is a factor. It's new media. It's a new way for particularly younger people to get their news. I know that the folks don't really love us talking about ourselves, and I can see why, but it's a factor, as the landscape changes.
Yeah,
what do you make of this change at the White House?
The room is very unimpressive. By the way, a mouse dropped out of the roof when I was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dead.
What'd you say? You hit the roof?
No, a mouse.
Oh, yeah.
Dead mouse?
Yeah, dead mouse.
Isn't that a dance?
Nice.
That's a
What about the
dance
chip
And
machine?
you say kitchen, it's one
Yeah,
vending machine.
it's a chip machine.
Yeah, yeah.
It looks like a kitchen though.
Yeah.
But
Can
what
you
about-
boil the kettle
Remember when
there?
Trump 1.0 went into the White House and basically said it was a dump? Well,
Yeah, it's true.
You know.
What about the concept? You like it?
I do.
Imagine like TikTokers
I mean,
and
but Joe
whatever in
Rogan's
there.
not going to turn up to those
No,
press
he's
briefings.
not,
They're
but others.
opinion guys,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
So they just jump on the phone. They don't want to speak to the press sec.
Yeah.
They're speaking to the guy.
Yeah,
So,
and Theo Von,
yeah.
he'd probably provide some comedy in there if he was...
Yeah, they would, but they're not going to leave Austin
No.
to go to DC. They're just not going
No.
to do it. So I get the gesture.
Yes, it could be any old
It's not gonna
punter though.
happen.
That's my concern.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Some
where do you
bloke
draw
with
the line?
100
well,
clicks.
You got to submit and then you got to get approved. That's sort of how it works. But anyway,